This morning to review the papers are anthropologist Mariana Hotta and broadcaster and writer Edward Adu. And here they are. Grateful for your company this morning to both of you. Let me kick off with you then, Edward, because some strange things happened yesterday, including an unlikely name. I mean, Putin referencing JK Rowling. How bizarre. Just why? What's going on?
Very bizarre. So made reference to JK Rowling and connected it with obviously what's been going on with Ukraine and with the West view and stance of what he's been doing with the attack, with the invasion of Ukraine, and likened it, connected it with cancel culture, which was really bizarre, and was talking about JK Rowling, about recently she's been embroiled in terms of her views on sex and gender, and he was making connection to that and saying, well, the West, in terms of cancel culture, that Russia is being placed in the same box. Now, in terms of a view or tweet, you can make comparisons to cancel culture, but when someone like Putin decides to invade another country, certainly there was no comparison. And JK Rowling hit back on social media by tweeting with the hashtag with her support to the Ukrainians. So in a sense, certainly did not get any support from Putin on his view. And it seems it's the kind of rhetoric that we saw during the Trump presidency, where the most bizarre and the most odd things would happen, such as comments or tweets or references to celebrities or well-known figures.
Absolutely. I did go onto JK Rowling's page last night just to take a look, and you can see the amount of support actually that she's getting from people in Ukraine, journalists from Ukraine also tweeting at her, and she's engaging with them. Let me go to Marianne, and this story is interesting because it makes me want to move. So we're looking at a story in the Mail, staying with the Mail, a discount on your energy bill if you live by a wind farm. Should we all just go and live there then, near to a wind farm?
Well, this is a proposal that's coming through, but kind of spearheaded actually by one of the energy companies, Octopus Energy, which already offers this to some of their customers in Wales and Yorkshire. Basically, they've created a thing that they've dubbed the Fan Club. So if you live near a wind farm, then you get a discount on your energy bills when those turbines are turning. So you get a 20% discount if they're turning. You get a 50% discount if it's appropriately windy and they're really generating a lot of electricity for the grid. So the suggestion is that partly to ease the passage of getting planning permission for these wind farms onshore, so on land, built on land, would be to give local residents this incentive that actually if you don't, try and prevent the wind farm being built in the field behind your house or wherever, then you would get a little perk out of it. The big question is, though, actually, ours is quite a crowded nation, and we need a lot of space to rebuild, to plant trees, to protect biodiversity. And sometimes when you're putting up this enormous infrastructure, you're actually doing quite a lot of harm. I'm absolutely in massive support of renewable energy, but I do wonder whether we need to have a kind of a much broader conversation about should these wind farms be on land or should they perhaps be out at sea, what the implications of those two things are, not just for kind of the climate crisis and biodiversity, turning that around, but also what that kind of impact is for our energy mix. Because obviously we do energy sovereignty and we need more security, but we need to do it in a right way for the long term.
Absolutely, and some of the criticism that's also levelled at the wind farm is just the fact that they just don't look very appealing, do they? But of course, as you say, they're balancing a lot there, also about green energy. Edward, I'm going to come to you. The most famous white shirt in Britain. Now, I mean, it's owned, not by you, I'm afraid. I'm sorry about that.
I was going to say, Vanessa, you know I wear the most flamboyant shirts, and I was expecting you to kind of have my, to kind of big me up and say, this is your moment, Ed, but it's not. It's Colin Firth's moment from 1995 from Pride and Prejudice, Jane Austen, that part where he emerges from the river, from the sea, and it's probably one of the most adored-like scenes ever. And there's an exhibition which is taking place in, I believe it's in the southwest, for people to go and have a look at this shirt. Now, this shirt is being protected. There's a robo red tape at the exhibition where people can go and look. And the actual adaptation, which was in 1995, the BBC's adaptation, it helped to kind of connect with a new audience. And when people talk about the actual adaptation, they always refer to that scene and Colin emerging from the sea. So there's no comparison to me. I mean, I don't think this shirt cuts it in terms of, you know, a competition between Colin Firth, that scene, and this shirt. He wins hands down.
Now, it might belong to Mr. Darcy, but I do hope that they washed it, at least cleaned it. Do you know what I mean? And then, you know.
I hope so.
Do you know what I mean?
So. At least, you know what, at least ironed it and used some starch. I mean,
yes,
come on.
do something. Do you know what I mean? Keep it clean. And we're running out of time, but I've got to come to you here, Marianne, because the front page of The Eye is talking about, you know, the inside of Chernobyl. This is the first account of life at captured nuclear plants since the attack. Just tell us more about what you found out.
Yeah, so this is information from one of the workers who is now not in the Chernobyl nuclear plant, but he's kind of revealing what the situation is for the workers who are there. So they're surrounded by armed Russian troops who kind of do perimeter runs, and these people who are basically making sure that this nuclear power plant remains safe and functional, therefore preventing a nuclear disaster, have been having to work 24-hour shifts with just a 30-minute break. And once they're in, they're effectively hostages because they're surrounded by Russian troops, and they don't know when they're going to be replaced by Ukrainians who are being the other workers of the power plant who are kind of going to get bussed in. They get permission to come in, and other people get permission to go out, but they don't know when those handovers happen. And this guy compares it to basically a bus driver who hasn't had a break.
Marianne, thank you very much indeed. Marianne Hotter and Edward Adu, it's been lovely to have your company. Thank you so much indeed. And do come back. I'll see you in a few minutes' time.